All right, I want to introduce tonight's speaker. Tonight's speaker is Charlotte Ward, who is CCL Communication and Media Manager, originally from the UK, which we all know that's great to listen to, but now living in South Carolina. So kind of a mix of Southern and UK and British accents. Mom to two budding environmentalists, as you see there, background in journalism. I think she's downplaying that a little bit. She's got a big background in journalism. And she's been volunteering for CCL, since 2019, right? And has been just recently, or no, actually the last couple of years, joined CCL staff in 2021, where she assists the even more wonderfuler, if that's a word, Flannery Winchester. So with all that, Charlotte, I almost called you Flannery. I'm going to turn it over to you, and the show is yours.
Thanks, Ricky. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Really good to see you tonight. So hopefully by the end of the call today, you are going to get really quick guidance on how to write a letter to the editor and also perhaps submit an LTE, a op-ed template. So as you are probably very familiar with, we are defending clean energy tax credits. So you can see here, first slide, we're just going to quickly talk about why this is a problem. So last Thursday, the House of Representatives passed its version of the Budget Reconciliation Bill, which dramatically slashes America's clean energy tax credits. And the cuts to these clean energy tax credits, we know they're deeply unpopular. Unfortunately, House Republicans faced overwhelming partisan pressure to vote with the party, and they put this version through. This version of the bill will now be debated in the Senate, where our senators have the power to defend the credits. So that is our goal. We are going to really emphasize why they need to do that. So we will apply pressure for them to protect the tax credits in their version of the bill. With targeted media, we will amplify the benefits of clean energy tax credits and the damage that would be done by repealing them. So I have 3 learning goals for you this evening. The first will be learn how to write an effective letter to the editor. The second is to explore how to use CCL's tax credits defense op-ed template, which we'll be showing you this evening. And then we will also have some focused time to work on drafts and then submit them. So I just want to start really quickly by giving you a really quick overview of how to write a letter to the editor. I know we have plenty of people on this call who've written LTEs before. We've probably got some new people too who've never written an LTE. So there is a bit of a simple formula. And even before you put your LTE together, the first thing I want you to do is to find a local newspaper that prints letters to the editor. So you may have know of one in your area. You may need to just do a quick Google to see if your local paper features letters to the editor. But if they do, then that's what I want you to do tonight. I want you to submit to that newspaper. So these papers, they normally have some kind of guidance on their letter to the editor page, which will tell you how you can submit your letter. It will tell you the word count. Usually it's about 150 to 250 words. They may have a form for you to submit. They may have an email address. So just check that out at some point this evening, and then you'll see kind of like what you need to be aiming for in terms of your word count. And in these letters tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to state what we stand to lose if the clean energy tax credits go away. So in our letters, we're going to share our concerns. We're going to talk about why this topic is important to us and particularly to our states. So why it's so important for our senators to make sure that we retain these tax credits in our states. And our call to action tonight will be tell your senators that the House budget bill is unacceptable in its present form. They must protect clean energy tax credits. And the kind of, as you're thinking about your LTE, there's a natural beginning and end, and it's nice to kind of close that circle. So you can finish with a line where you're kind of reiterating how important the credits are and how they must be protected. So you're just kind of putting that messaging in there again. So this is the tricky thing. I know we have some people from red states, we have some people from blue states here tonight. So what to write really depends on where you live. So we're going to break that down this evening. So my first advice here is if both your senators or one are Republicans, then I want you to write an LTE about how clean energy tax credits are bringing economic benefits to your state and how it hurts state residents lose them. And you can view state and district specific information in CCL's data to defend the IRA spreadsheet. Elle has just put that in the chat for you. Basically, this spreadsheet was put together by our research department. It's awesome. It kind of breaks down every single state, what those clean energy tax credits have done for your state in terms of the amount of investment, the amount of jobs. It names some of the companies that have invested in your state. So that is a really useful resource for you this evening as you're thinking about making those really good points of why we should keep these things. And I know that some of you may be in some of these states where we've seen 4 senators actually sign a letter of support. So we love this. We have 4 Republican senators who've already signed a letter in support of clean energy tax credits. They're acknowledging that it's really important they stay. So they're listed there for you. And if one of them is your senator, please write an LTE thanking them and encouraging them to continue to push their colleagues to keep the clean energy tax credits. So let's move on to if you don't have a Republican senator. So if all your senators are Democratic, you don't have a Republican, you have an independent, it's still good to make the case in the media for clean energy and the benefits for your community. That really helps shore up Democratic support in the long run for climate policy. And at the end of the day, like these decisions, wherever we live, they affect us. So even if you are in a blue state, we still really want to be doubling down on this messaging to let them know how important it is. So you could do that. You could write about how important it is in your blue state, but maybe you want to help a red state. So you could also pen an LTE tonight to be submitted to a newspaper in your nearest geographically red state. So we've just put a congressional map in the chat for you. The great thing about that is it shows you the whole of the US, and you can just hover your mouse over your state or the nearest state to you, and you can see who their senators are, and it tells you whether they're Republican or Democrat. So that's a really good opportunity for you to just see like, oh, is the state next to me, do they have a Republican senator? Because maybe I could just hop across the border of the state and or the state line and just write a letter for that particular state. And then lastly, we've seen some CCLers doing this. We've had CCLers helping out other states where they ghostwrite an LTE and offer it to a CCL volunteer in a red state. So I know some of the blue states have felt a little bit like it's quite hard to mobilize when you have Democrats who are behind all of this. They really want to see these clean energy tax credits remain. So perhaps if you're a talented writer, then you will want to ghostwrite an LTE that you could offer to someone in a red state. Somewhere like me in South Carolina, I don't have a lot of LTE writers. So when people want to write stuff, it's amazing. So think about those states that might be like a little bit more rural, might not have as many CCLers. Perhaps you could write an LTE for that state this evening. The good news is we're already seeing some great successes. You guys are on it. I know that some of you here tonight have already been writing. So we've already seen some letters published by CCLers saying how the Senate needs to defend the clean energy tax credits. So I've just put a little splattering of headlines there, but I am going to give you a little bit more in depth, some examples of great LTEs we've seen. So this one comes from my own state. This is, I live in upstate South Carolina. There's a volunteer called Anne who lives in the Low Country. She got this wonderful LTE published, I believe it was today or perhaps yesterday. So I'm just going to read it to you here. This is just a great example of the kind of messaging you can use as you write your LTE. So South Carolina is a real success story in America's clean energy boom, but the recent US House vote to gut clean energy tax credits threatens to derail our state's progress. This makes little sense from an economic standpoint. Over the past 2 years, nearly 15 billion in clean energy projects have been announced in South Carolina, many of them spurred by the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. They are expected to create roughly 14,000 jobs and multiple new business opportunities. These investments aren't abstract. They're building real facilities and supporting real families, whether it's Scout Motors in the Midlands or new solar installation companies popping up across the upstate. The Inflation Reduction Act's tax credits are driving job creation and economic development in every corner of our state. The jobs they are creating also have high salaries that the average SC worker currently earns, So, but now the US House wants to significantly reduce the very credits that have made this investment in economic development possible. If the Senate doesn't step in to stop this rollback, South Carolina stands to lose thousands of future jobs and billions of dollars in economic growth. US Senators Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott are well aware that South Carolina is benefiting from clean energy tax credits. In fact, the majority of investments spurred by the law are going to Republican-led districts across the United States. I urge them not to let Washington politics sabotage our state's momentum. They must protect the clean energy incentives that are putting South Carolinians to work. So I really love that. I think it's so great that she's got clear examples of investment we've had in our state. You've got projects that people in South Carolina would have heard about. So helping them to make that connection is really awesome. So then my next example comes from Utah. This was by Bree Buckley, and she wrote this. I thought this was great because she uses an example of how these tax credits have actually helped her. Perhaps some of you this evening have had that. Maybe you've got to buy like a electric vehicle, or you've got solar panels, or you've made an energy efficient upgrade. So you'll all know how these kind of tax credits have benefited you or benefited your state. So just having those real examples really gets people thinking. So she said, when my HVAC and water heater both reached the end of service life last year, I was facing a significant financial hit. Not only did the tax credits help to alleviate some of that financial stress, they made it more affordable for me. I know that there are many other Utah homeowners who would also benefit from these tax credits for the same reasons, and they might be especially important in helping them to afford more efficient equipment now that tariffs and economic uncertainty might inflate the prices of that equipment. While the direct benefit of these tax credits is clear, the indirect benefits, greater energy efficiency, reduced use of fossil fuels, cleaner air, are harder to measure, but we live them every day. We should make it easier for homeowners to make smart financial decisions for home improvement, not harder. I urge our member of Congress to fight to keep these vital tax credits the way they are and hopefully expand on them in the future. So I thought that was really great as well. So we're going to give you a little bit of time soon to write an LTE. But just before we do that, I want to talk you through our second task for the evening that you might want to do. So we put together a new op-ed template that we would love people to submit in their states. And the idea behind this is most of it's there for you. It hopefully will cut down the time that you would spend writing an op-ed. You can see that the highlighted sections, you can fill that in with information about your state. You can again go back to that wonderful spreadsheet that the research department put together, Data to Defend the IRA. You can check out the different numbers from your own state. And it goes on. It's about 600 words. When you download it using the link that we've put in the chat, you will be able to click on the links in the document and fill in those different sections. And we have already seen it in print. So I want you all to give Elle, who's on this call, she's our new comms intern, give her a little clap, because Elle was the first person in the country to get this op-ed published in Iowa. So there you can see it on the left. And then we've seen it in Montana, we've seen it in Florida, and then I believe someone got it in a paper in Idaho today. So we're doing awesome already, but I'm hoping by the end of this evening, you will have submitted it to a lot more places and we will start to see more successes trickle in. So just to talk you through, we have given you a link that's kind of the shortcut to downloading this template, but I just wanted to explain this to you generally. If you're ever looking for a CCL template, this is the way to do it. You go to the media relations page of CCL community, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see something that says support materials, a headline, and op-ed templates. So that media relations page is where you'll find kind of all those useful media resources that you might want to use. And you can just click on the op-ed templates and it will take you to the page. And then you'll see it looks like this on the screen: adaptable op-ed template, why Congress can't pull the plug on clean energy progress. And you can just click on it, you can download it, and then you can customize it. So hopefully you can all do that. Obviously, if anyone has any problems this evening, just let us know in the chat and we will try and troubleshoot this for you. So before we get working on our LTEs and that op-ed template, just a little bit of information about where to submit. So with opinion columns, we want to submit to one local paper at a time. This avoids similar pieces appearing in rival pages. So we actually put together a spreadsheet to see where CCLers have already submitted op-eds in your state and if they've been published. This is working really well. Volunteers are filling this in. If you click on it, you will see, have a look, see if your state has already submitted this op-ed. If it has, perhaps you're located somewhere far away from that paper's readership, so you could then submit it. Say you're in Southern California, maybe it can be submitted in Northern California, and you know your own state geographically. So think about, is there a place where potentially there could be a second hit, but we just want to make sure that we're not kind of overlapping with another paper circulation, because it can be deeply frustrating for those editors to go through the process of scheduling something and then seeing it pop up somewhere else. So we just want to be very wary of that. And some bigger regional newspapers do ask for exclusive content for opinion pieces, which they specify in their submission instructions. So when you're reading those instructions, if that's the case, then I don't want you to take this template and just alter like the things I've asked you to alter. I want you to actually think about writing something original from scratch, because we want to just respect those rules that they have. So if that's what they want, then perhaps you can look at the template, you can see the different talking points, you can think of your own creative way to sort of put that op-ed together, and you can write something that still has the same end goal, but is you know, a little bit more individual. And then if you submit an op-ed and an editor asks if the op-ed you have submitted is original or exclusive, our best advice is just be truthful. So let them know that CCL volunteers in other states may have published similar themed op-eds, but your submission has unique state-specific information. And we know when that's the case, when it's kind of tailored to the state, then they're normally okay with that. So just kind of use that common sense approach as you're doing it. I'm going to just stop sharing a second so I can answer a few of these questions. So in a minute, I'm going to give you 20 minutes of time to write. And when we do that, I'm going to ask you to just be really focused. So you can turn off your camera if you like, mute yourself, and just use that 20 minutes just to really get in the zone with what you're writing. I know that Chris is asking in the chat, whose name goes on the op-ed? Does it need to be co-authored? No, it doesn't need to be co-authored. You can just put your own name on it, Chris. So just go on there, put your own name, and then just personalize it to your own state. That's absolutely fine. Let's see if there's any other questions. So Paul is asking, where can I go to see more details on nearby projects? So that would be on that data to defend the IRA spreadsheet. call, which I will ask Elle to put back in the chat with you. And we'll also drop our agenda in the chat for you as well, which I know that we're throwing like so many links at you this evening. So I have actually put them all in one place on the agenda. So, and you can bookmark that agenda. If you want to go back to it tomorrow, you can go back to it tomorrow, and you can, hopefully everything you need will be quite clearly in that agenda. So we'll make sure you have that. Just before we start writing, does anybody else have any clarifying questions? Do you want to raise your hand or put them in the chat? So Alex has got his hand up. Yeah, go. Do you want to unmute Alex and just go ahead?
Sure. So we actually don't have any projects in Vermont on that beautiful spreadsheet.
Oh,
But
yeah.
So my best guess is, I don't know if I can find some data on how many people have benefited on a personal level from tax credits or tax breaks or that kind of thing related to clean energy. Seems like the next best thing. Would you agree with that? Or is there some other angle to
Yeah,
work that kind of makes a local connection?
yeah. So did you see Alex? I put some advice on. I know you'd written a question community. So I think if there's not projects that you can talk about, like talking about those individual incentives is good, because that's something, even though South Carolina's had loads of investment, I still can come to it from a very personal standpoint, that I was able to get an electric vehicle because of the money that I could get back as a tax credit. And I'm presently going through the process of trying to get solar on my roof, because the state credit and the federal credit make it affordable to me. I wouldn't be able to do it without that. So I think, yeah, just trying to put those like personal stories in, those personal reasons, and then also pivoting to the reason why, like ultimately we also want this to happen because it reduces climate pollution, it brings down emissions, which is so important. We're focusing on the economic benefits because that really resonates with people on a like personal level, if they don't see climate change as the big threat that we see. But perhaps a lot of the readers in Vermont will make that connection. So just kind of emphasizing how if we take these credits away, it takes us off that nice projection for clean energy, that up trend that we were seeing in some. I mean, hopefully it will still keep going up, but it affects the gradient if we take away the credits which are helping the gradient to go up. So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, Fred, don't worry that you were late, because we will put the slides in the chat for you, so you'll be able to go through and use everything. I just am aware that I want to get you guys writing, so if anyone else has a question, put it in the chat for me. I'm gonna beaver away and answer those questions in the chat while you're writing. But let's take that time now. So choose: are you going to write an LTE? Are you going to write the op-ed template? Use this time now, 20 minutes, see how you get on, and then we will alert you when it's time to come back, and we will see how folks got on. All right, happy writing, everybody. All right, everybody, sorry to interrupt your writing, but I would like to invite you to turn your cameras back on. And I had some questions for you. Did you choose to work on an LT or an op-ed? You can speak to me or you can write in the chat. I'm also interested in which paper are you submitting to, in which state, and what deadline will you set yourself to submit it. That's a good thing to do. Mentally, when we set ourselves a deadline, then we feel guilty if we don't do it. So I encourage you to think of a realistic deadline. Will you get it done tomorrow? Will you get it done by Monday? Have a think what seems realistic to you. All right, so Misha's already submitted to the Seattle Times. Awesome. Let me stop sharing and then I can see if anyone else is waving at me. So we've got Thomas, he said an LT for the Dallas Morning News. He's going to submit it tonight. That's great. Kopana says, I wrote an LTE. It's for the Austin American Statesman. I will submit it tomorrow. Great. Lynn's written an op-ed for the Charlotte Observer, plans to send it on Monday. Dan says tonight to the Houston Chronicle. Let's see. Lindsay says an LTE. Yeah, we do need to work quickly. They want to do it fast. I heard that they want to have it signed by the president by July the 4th. So we can expect that the Senate are going to try and speed through this process. It has to go to committee, but then they will be voting on it. So the next week or so would be wonderful. And then let's see. All right, Sam says, I'm going to submit an LT to the Greensboro News and Record by tomorrow. Virginia's going to submit to the Mercury News in the Bay Area. Leah is going to, she's researched how to submit an op-ed guest column for the Dayton Daily News. Came up empty-handed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you find a useful link or perhaps another paper that will take it. Alex is submitting the op-ed to the Vermont Digger. It's an online paper that is by far the most widely read paper in our state. That's great. And Alex, I linked you by email with Lynn in North Carolina. So perhaps you two can collaborate, which would be wonderful. Luke, I'm writing an op-ed for the Greeley Tribune. That sounds great. Linda's going to do it by Saturday. And Sterling says, just sent LT to Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Awesome. So am I seeing two Houston Chronicles here? So op-ed to the Houston Chronicle. And I think someone else said Houston Chronicle. I'm not sure if you said an LTE or an op-ed, but you two should communicate with each other just to make sure that you don't send the same op-ed to the same paper. We can put that spreadsheet back in the chat again, Elle, if you don't mind digging that out. Everybody is submitting an op-ed. Click on the spreadsheet that we're going to put in the chat for you and look at your state and make sure you fill it in that you're submitting, just so that we can make sure we don't have any overlaps. Yeah, it's in the chat now for you. Awesome. All right. So some of you may be familiar. We've actually been doing a big drive for media for 30 days of media. We wanted to get 300 submissions. So you can see I took this screen grab today. We're at 133 of 300 and we have 16 days left. So we're going to put the link in the chat for you to go to the action tracker. So if you've written an LTE tonight or you have submitted an op-ed, make sure that you put it in the action tracker that you've done that, so that we can see that tally go up, so we can make sure you're included in this number. And then I wanted to quickly talk about maybe some ideas to take away, because this doesn't have to be your only media effort as you do this work. I've just realized I'm not showing my screen, so sorry about that, guys. I'm going to go back and share. I was talking away and you weren't even seeing my screen. Here we go. Let me go back a few just to make sure. All right, so you'll see this on the homepage of community. This is our drive to get to 300 media actions. So we have the link in the chat for you, hopefully. I don't know, I'm losing track of the chat. It's great that you guys are all being so interactive with me. But we're going to put the link in the chat for you to log your LTEs and your op-eds in the action tracker. All right, ideas to take away. So this does not have to be your only effort to defend clean energy tax credits. There's lots more work we can do. So I wanted to just talk through some ideas for you to take away, let them percolate a bit. We really need our senators to understand that clean energy tax credits aren't just line items on a budget. They're jobs, they're paychecks, they're ways constituents in their states support their families. So in the coming weeks, we can work really hard to elevate the real stories of family, friends, and neighbors whose jobs or small businesses would be at risk if these credits are repealed. So just have a think, can you work with folks who'd be willing to write an opinion piece about how the clean energy tax credits create a future for them? So I have been thinking about this. The company that installed my solar is, they're really upset about the repeal of these tax credits if it happens, because financially it really affects them. It affects their business model because they rely on people being able to use the tax credits to be able to afford their rooftop solar. And the guy who runs the company said to me, I'm worried sick, like I have all this staff that I have to support. They all rely on me for their jobs. And if we lose these tax credits, then it's going to be really detrimental for my business. So we got him into a lobby meeting with our Senator Tim Scott last week. But something else that I'm doing is I'm working with him. He's contacted a whole load of other solar businesses in South Carolina, and we're going to work on an op-ed, like a kind of an open letter laying out how detrimental this is for his business. So that's just something for you to think about, like, how can you do this? Like, are there businesses you know about? Are there people who are affected? And those human stories are really impactful. So just think about that over the coming weeks. Like perhaps there's a link, someone in your chapter might have a link to someone who would be willing to write a piece, work with you to write a piece. And that's just going to really help with this goal we have to really drum it home to these senators that they can't reverse these tax credits. It's really, really bad for all of us. Okay, so hopefully you had fun tonight. So if you did have fun, I wanted to invite you to come to my next LTE workshop. So we actually do this once a month. This was a special one tonight when we mobilized on the clean energy tax credits, but we do this every month. It's always the second Wednesday of the month. And the next call is going to be Wednesday, June 11th. And it will be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. East Coast. It's a similar kind of format. We feature our successes at the start. We have a quick training. We have focused time to write. And we give each other lots of moral support. We have some really lovely regulars who come and they really encourage each other. So we have a great success rate as well. We often have people who wrote the month before and then they've been published and they get to share their success on the next call. So we've just put that link for you in the chat. If you'd like to come again to one of these calls, then please sign up there, and it gives you basically the next 4 options for these calls.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Citizens Climate Lobby's training program. You can tune into more episodes anywhere podcasts are available. Inspired by what you heard today? Join Citizens Climate Lobby to advocate for bipartisan climate solutions. Go to community.citizensclimate.org to find more trainings, resources, your local chapter, national action teams, discussion forums, and more. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @CitizensClimate. We also invite all of our listeners to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiration.
Like what you hear? Recommend us to your friends and make sure to give us a 5-star rating. It helps us show up on other listeners' feeds. Feel free to pass on any suggestions for future episodes in the comments as well.
And together, we are creating the political will for a livable world.